So quickly, I'm Jeremiah Owyang, industry analyst at Altimeter Group. Please introduce yourselves.
Okay.
Ladies first.
Hi there. Is this thing on? Yes.
Yep.
My name is Rebecca Quinn. I'm Director of European Strategy and Operations for Wildfire. As Jeremiah very eloquently described, we're a social content management platform based in California, in Silicon Valley. We've been around since 2008, and here in Europe for a couple of years now, since 2010.
But you sound American.
I know, I do. I am very American. Midwestern. Any Midwesterners here? Yeah!
All
oh my
right.
gosh, look at that. We escape. It's good. Yep, I'm from Indianapolis originally, but I live here in London, and I'm helping to grow the team out here. So, pleased to be here.
All right, and also we have Luca, who taught me a lot about Italian fashion last night over drinks. They have some of the best taste in the world. Tell me about yourself.
Is that another Zegna you're wearing?
No, yesterday, this is a Hugo.
Hugo Boss.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You betrayed the Italians for a German brand. Anyway, Luca Benini from BuddyMedia. I'm the managing director in Europe. Work with BuddyMedia, of course, technology provider, solution provider for managing social media programs. We've been around also, I think, for the past 5 years out of New York originally. We established our presence around a couple of years ago in London for the European markets, and I run that team.
And you're based here?
Based in London, absolutely.
From Italy, though?
From Italy originally, yes.
Great. So let's talk about social media management systems. Why do we even need these tools? Aren't the Facebook and Twitter tools good enough for brands? What's the need? Let's start with you, Rebecca.
Sure. I guess from our perspective, we see the space as all about scale. There are a dozen different platforms out there that enable you to communicate with your client base, and it's very difficult oftentimes to manage a single conversation through all of those. So from our standpoint, we feel like it's really important to, especially for larger brands, as they attempt to, to get more and more sophisticated in the way in which they're talking with their client base, to think about scale, not just to think about single promotions, single tweets, single videos, single interactions, but a long-term sort of strategy for communication.
Okay, so scale. Luca, your perspective?
Absolutely. It's all about scale. We work with the largest brands, and I think the best way for me to answer your question about scale and why do we need technology is to think about you guys in the audience here. If you're tweeting right now, you're probably doing it not from twitter.com, but you're probably using some sort of a technology that helps you manage that better. Multiply that by, I don't know, 10,000 times, 10 million times. That's what brands face each day. And that's why a technology that helps them to manage at scale is needed. It's not a nice to have anymore, it's a need to have.
Yeah, I want to just comment from an industry analyst perspective. The research we've done is that the average corporation, let's see if do you guys know the number? Do you know the stat? Has 178 social media accounts globally. You might see more, right? Or what do you guys see from your clients?
A lot more.
A lot more.
Yeah. When we talk about scale, we have a couple of examples that are really staggering out there. A social program that we launched for Ford, or with Ford recently, empowers all their dealers across the whole of the US to rely and leverage technology to manage their own social media presence through Facebook and Twitter and so forth. What it means is that effectively on a single platform and under control or connected and unified, you find yourself with more than 5,000 pages.
5,000 pages. How about from a Wildfire perspective?
Well, I would add to that I think it's not just about geographies, because we see similar things with our largest clients, but I think it's also about the number of platforms that you're dealing with. We work with Benefit Cosmetics UK, a great brand that has really taken social by the horns and done amazing things with it, and they're leveraging Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, a variety of different platforms, certainly Pinterest, those types of guys, very, very successfully. And so in that case, it's not just necessarily about the geographical challenges and the number of pages that you have, but also the number of properties across which you're trying to consolidate a conversation.
So we're still going through the market needs. One of the things that we see in corporations, and this is our data as well, is 1 out of 330 employees uses social media for business reasons. What are you guys seeing as far, that's just a ratio. So what are you seeing as the number of seats deployed in the average corporation?
Again, we're going in the thousands and sometimes in the tens of thousands when you expand it to the whole ecosystem that
like
is
dealers.
connected with a particular brand or with a set of brands. So we work with very large FMCG companies. They manage multiple, like hundreds of brands. And within those hundreds of brands, they don't not only have the brand managers and the marketing teams that are using and leveraging the technology, but also they have a need to involve everybody else who's part of that ecosystem of delivering a great social media experience. And that passes by all their agencies that are connected and all the other stakeholders that really and truly make add value to the conversation.
I think it depends on the brand, though, because everyone's taking a slightly different approach. For example, we're currently working with British Airways, and they're working really hard to consolidate numerous properties into one. They really strive to have one global Facebook page, and they want to manage that through just a handful of seats.
We should discuss and debate this.
Yeah.
So what should brands do? Should they have one single Facebook page for the overall brand presence, or have thousands?
Frankly, I think that it really depends on your goals. So the Ford versus BA discussion is a totally different set of brands with totally different set of objectives.
Okay.
So in that case, for example, I would imagine that Ford is really interested in having an extremely localized discussion, whereas BA is thinking more about how to make sure that their discussion is very centralized and clear, and they're less interested in touching people literally street by street by street across a geography.
Okay, so now that we're talking about ecosystems, my friend Tack Anderson's here in the audience, and he works at Wagner Engstrom, an agency. I want to know, percentage-wise, what percent of your deals comes through agencies?
It comes through agency is a relatively small percentage. Deals in which agencies play a very important and relevant and ultimately decision-making role is much higher. And the reason is because brands involve and understand that their agency have a clear understanding sometimes of how to connect with consumers out there and how to leverage social media at scale. They internalize a lot of it, but their agency are really able to deliver to the next stage. Mainly when we talk about media and when the paid media within the social space plays a role, then again agency have been managing media for years and years, and an integrated solution then needs to include paid media, and that's again delegated.
We'll talk about paid in a bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say that from our standpoint, agencies play a really important component of the ecosystem, and I would argue actually not just on the media side, but really on the strategy and creative side as well. We work with a lot of brands who leverage our technology on the scale front because they really want to either be able to cover a variety of different geographies very easily, or they're particularly interested in sort of consolidating their messaging. But oftentimes they lean on agencies for a strategic roadmap. A strategic roadmap, oftentimes it doesn't just cover the social aspect, but the entire scheme of their marketing effort. And they'll make sure that social is a strategic component of that discussion.
Got it. So, I mean, you guys are engagement software that helps enable brands. But from your perspective, who should really own the engagement and be responding to customers in social channels? The brand or the agency?
That's a good question. I think looking at what's successful out there and looking at our clients, the brands that are most successful in their engaging conversation, in managing that process, are the brands that do it directly. I think there's a component of authenticity that comes with doing it from the inside, being true to the values of a company that really comes through when it's done internally. There's a big human component to it. I know you're a fan of the discussion about the human component and the automation of social media, and I think that human component, if there is a person involved, that person sits at the brand.
Okay.
I do think I would agree that it is really important that the brand play a decisive role in the voice when it comes to their social engagements. We've done a lot of work with a brand which many of you Brits probably know called Yorkshire Tea, and they're an amazing Yorkshire Tea, of course. And they like to talk to the British component of their following, as well as their global following, about what it means to make a perfect cup of tea. And it's not necessarily, we've been talking a lot about what is and isn't isn't sexy today. It's not necessarily the sexiest brand around and not one that you would imagine would be driving a lot of engagement on Facebook, but they do an incredible job of sort of owning the voice to their customer and really delivering a valuable conversation around a cup of tea.
Do you know how to make a perfect cup of tea?
As an American, I'm not sure that I would profess to qualify on that front. I do like a good cup of tea, though.
I go for espresso, so
yeah,
don't ask me about tea.
Go about that. All right. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the future of this space. And recently I did a post. I mean, there's a couple categories of software out there, but one market that I've defined is called the social performance software space. And this rubs people the wrong way sometimes, but essentially what we see happening now is optimization and performance technology from other channels such as email or advertising is now shifting to social. We're seeing content being put on timer. We're seeing content be optimized when it will publish. We're seeing content being created through algorithms. So social is starting to become automated, for better and for worse. It's fact. It's happening. I want to hear your perspective on social performance software. Do you guys feel you fit into this space?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I like this idea of performance orientation. I think that there's a difference between automation and optimization. I think those are not necessarily linked, but I do, we subscribe to the fact, and frankly our vision for the future is that there will be a huge amount of optimization that is data driven in the social space. I think that's one of the reasons.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? For me, I think it means that there's an opportunity to really dig into the data around paid, owned, and earned media, where you can get a sense for essentially how to most effectively speak to your client across the entire buying life cycle, from the beginning of that conversation all the way to the end when they're hopefully advocates.
And you think it should be optimized, like the content and the features and the games and the quizzes should be totally optimized? How does that work?
I think optimization is really about understanding what your consumers are looking for, what your fans are looking for. Why? I mean, brands are at an amazing point in the history of marketing, and we sort of saw it with email, but we're really seeing it in social in the sense that people are saying, I identify with your brand. I'm going to put it on my Facebook page that I love your brand, and I want to hear from you on a regular basis. Right. That's an incredible thing. And so to really dig into the data behind, who is that person? Why are they interested in me? And how can I best communicate with them to keep them engaged is important. We did an interesting study about a month ago, covering about 10,000 different campaigns, 5,000 different brands over 9 months, looking at about 9 months of data, and we found that 3% of total participants in a campaign tend to drive 100% of the results, or of the engagement, rather. And so from our standpoint, that was a really interesting finding, and I think it's really important for marketers to consider the fact that they need to start to target that 3%, understand what they're looking for, and really drive engagement through them.
Luca, what do you think? Are we in danger of losing the human voice by optimization and social performance software?
I don't think so. I think the automation is needed because we are talking to brands that operate at a scale that without automation would not be manageable. So automation is key to deliver the results that they're looking for, and is key to, in practical terms, to highlight the controversy out of all the conversations that are happening, to prioritize the responses so that the highest priority ones are dealt first. And that's as simple as automation can be. When you start to then dig into the big concept of collecting data and having a wealth of data that becomes an asset for your company to define and inform every single move that you do going forward, that's when it gets interesting. And then when you branch it out and you start to talk about CRM and what it means, broadly speaking, for every single department within an organization, and that connection from the internal organization and everything that goes through it, including obviously marketing, and the connection through marketing with the external part of it, with the people, what the consumers are saying, I think it's paramount that companies automate that, deploy a technology, and use it to optimize.
So, should brands disclose their optimizing and automating? How should they go about this? What do you advise?
I don't think consumers care too much.
Really? I'm not so sure.
if they knew, they would, but maybe. But I think ultimately what they're looking for is a way to engage with their brands. And they know that a billboard is just a billboard that is there for advertising, but if they get information from that, they know what to expect from it, and they're fine with it.
They get something
back.
So
in social media, the ability to just post hey, I really like this, they don't care if there's someone on the other side that really, truly, takes note and leverages on it. What they care is that if they ask a question, if there's controversy that they throw at the brand, if there's something that goes wrong or something that goes particularly well, that there's someone on the other side that takes note and takes action.
I think you could say there's sort of a Darwinian influence at play here. I mean, at the end of the day, if people will be displeased to find out that they're being optimized or that they're engaging with an automated component, if that's clear. For them, it's really about making sure that the engagement is good and it's what they're looking for, that the voice is, that they're engaging with the brand and speaking with the brand in a way that they find interesting and useful and where they find value, then, automated, optimized, for them, I think you're right, it doesn't matter.
It'll be interesting. So you guys know about IVR systems, right? The voice systems when you call up a phone and you talk to a robot or an automated entity, and you can press different buttons and it says speak into it. And in case you don't know, the more angry you sound, the higher your message will be protocoled up to a live operator. So some people actually know this and start saying F-bombs and S this and what have you because they get prioritized. So Luca, you were talking about earlier about prioritizing these hot discussions. Are people going to be talking to scripts now? How far do you think this will go?
I don't know how far it will go. I'm thinking back of something that I heard from Scott Monty at Ford recently, where he said that for them, their approach, their mantra with social media is about being human, and therefore always remembering that you have 2 years and 1 month. So for them, and I think they encapsulate with that message what people are expecting when they engage with a brand.
What's 2 years, 1 month mean?
You listen to your consumers twice every time you speak once.
I see.
So it's like, when you think about your best friend, is not the one that says the best things.
2 ears, 1 mouth.
Is the one that really listens to you. If I think about my best friend, the one that I want to see tonight for a drink, is a good listener. And I think that's crucial that brands understand that. So I think as a consumer, and maybe I'll speak for myself, I'm ready to understand that maybe the brand will not be so proactive in reaching out directly to me and talking to me. But if I know that they're listening to what I'm saying, I'll be satisfied. That will deliver the reason why I approach them on a social network.
So I want to poll the audience. You guys up for a poll? So raise your hand if you got a hand. I just want to make sure we're live. Okay. Oh, everybody's alive. They brought their appendages. So raise your hand if you think social automation is good, and the second one will be you're not comfortable with it. Raise your hand if you're comfortable with social automation and where this is headed. Okay, for those that are viewing online, it's about half of the room. Raise your hand if you are not comfortable with this direction. About half of this. So this is interesting. I think this is one of the biggest cruxes that our industry is about to face, is that this performance technology from other, like IVR, advertising, email marketing, is coming into social. And it's happening right now, especially with the acquisitions that have been happening in the space. So let's go at a higher level, macro level. I know you got some partnerships, you recently got acquired, but we're seeing this new suite of social software suite that is being encapsulated. So here's the players in my list. Adobe, who spoke earlier, Lithium, who's in the room, Salesforce, IBM, who am I missing? Oracle, yeah. And so that's where we're seeing all these acquisitions, and people are buying these at incredible valuations, sometimes 10 times valuations, which is a whole other discussion we could have. But what do you guys see, like this roll-up happening? What does this trend mean? And maybe, Luca, we could start with the news you guys just broke a few weeks ago.
It means that that's exactly what clients want. That's what the industry wants. That's what the largest brands in the world need. and they're demanding us to do, to deliver a fully comprehensive, we now call it the first comprehensive marketing cloud, a solution that delivers an end-to-end process through which social programs are delivered, through CMOs.
So we think suite is better than best of breed. One size fits all.
I think one of the key issues within social is the complexity of the environment in which we operate. Even when we just talk about technology, and the ecosystem is crazy, and I can see how CMOs are demanding us to resolve that complexity and to bring up solutions that really simplify their approach and streamline it. There's also the need for unification and comprehensive and coherent data sets that become an asset. Unless you're consistent in the way that you're collecting the data, in the way that you're analyzing the data, in the way that you're surfacing the data, you are not leveraging fully on the data that you're generating.
I think the battle between the marketing suite will be, right now, I see this play. It's Salesforce versus Adobe. So Salesforce has got data.com, BuddyMedia. You guys bought Brighter Option,
exactly.
Radian 6, and they have a bunch of others. And then Adobe bought Context Optional, Efficient Frontier, Day Software, which is a CMS, and Omniture. So your lineup is pretty much the same feature-wise, just from a checkbox perspective. So I see you guys really, boom, going after the CMO suite.
Ready for it, absolutely.
Okay. Now, let's talk about maybe best of breed. You guys haven't been absorbed into something, so tell me the valiant points on what makes you guys successful here.
Thanks. So I would suggest that we are, just as much as anyone else, really excited to see this consolidation in the industry. There's a huge amount of money being pumped into the space where we've all made massive bets. And I think we are, Wildfire is really stoked that there is so much momentum in the space. After the Facebook IPO, there's been consolidation, which really means injection of interest and capital, which is going to lead to innovation. Now, on the innovation front, we would actually argue that it's a lot easier to be innovative when you're independent. We are laser...
Small and nimble, huh?
Small and nimble.
Okay.
And I think, actually, you recently wrote a blog post, May 30th, kind of comparing
well read, thank you.
Yep, sure. Comparing sort of the benefits of a suite and sort of a larger play to a more nimble, sort of pure play vendor. We would qualify as a second. We are pure play. We are solely focused and have a very clear vision when it comes to social media. And we are, really sort of running super hard in that direction. And so for us, I think that's, we're excited about
It's
the
interesting
momentum,
because the social media space and the APIs are constantly changing, and the space is very dynamic. So I'm going to see that every organization, both of yours, will have to stay nimble in order to compete.
For sure.
100%.
Yeah.
What made the success of companies like ours is the obsession with being innovative, being ahead of the curve, anticipating the trends, understanding what's happening, listening to the client's demand, and delivering there and then. I think the theme of LeWeb is faster than real time. That's exactly how companies that operate in our space need to operate in order to survive. And I think that is a characteristic that needs to stay with us. And we're excited about joining a company like Salesforce because the vision is that we will be able to deliver that innovation at scale.
Great. So to close things off, I would like to hear from you guys how you've helped a brand, a quick client case study. Luca, we'll start with you. 1 minute, please. Tell me about how you've helped a brand. What's a successful story?
Oh, successful story. I'll go back to, I think, L'Oreal, which came to us with a very interesting B2B case. They wanted to manage the conversation not only directly with their consumers through their social networks, but also indirectly through their channel of salons. So in collaboration with them, we launched a program which was incredibly successful to involve in a very simple technology deployment all their salons that are representing L'Oreal brand, and through that technology deployment, they empowered the individual salons to deliver a L'Oreal branded experience to the people that were engaging locally in more than 4,000 salons locally across the region. With their local beauty parlor. So that was, I think, a great response in terms of how directly and indirectly L'Oreal is committing to engage with its audience, and it delivered exceptional results.
Thank you. And L'Oreal will be sharing later today. Rebecca, how have you helped a brand?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, we've worked very closely with British Airways as they've strived to consolidate efforts around sort of one global page. One thing that they have done over the course of the past few weeks is they launched a 5-day promotion whereby they were looking to essentially engage people in the idea around a transatlantic trip. And so they ran a set of questions, and this was targeted at the US, Canada, the UK, and European countries. They ran a question, and essentially you answered the question, and for answering that question, you had the opportunity to win a transatlantic set of tickets. 5 days, they had 5 million people engage in that effort. They grew their fan base by, I think it was around 50,000, which was massive, and they've really seen a huge amount of progress as a result of that. And that's just one example of an enterprise organization that we've helped grow significantly.
L'Oreal and British Airlines. Well, I'd like to thank you both. In case you don't know, these are two fierce competitive companies, and it's really nice to engage in a very intellectual and informative discussion. So please give them a round of hand for their help. Thank you. Good job, guys.